So hiring team members is an investment, and it's up to us as the owners to make sure the investment is worth it. If we hire the right person, they're an investment that's worth it. If we hire the wrong person, they are an expense, and they cost us time and money. You work hard in your business. On the Profit by Design podcast, we ask the big question. What has your business done for you lately? Hi, I'm Dr. Sabrina Starling. I'm the business psychologist, the author of the 4-Week Vacation and the How to Hire the Best series, as well as the founder of Tap the Potential, where we coach entrepreneurs like you to design sustainably profitable businesses that give you more time for what matters most and more money in your bank account than ever. Because after all, we believe work supports life, not the other way around. Weekly on the Profit by Design podcast, we bring you tips, tools, and strategies from our own experiences and from the experiences of our guests who are entrepreneurial thought leaders and real life entrepreneurs, all to support you in making intentionally profitable and sustainable business decisions to live the lifestyle you desire. The culture in your business is precious. And as the owner, it's your job to grow, nurture, and protect your culture. So today, I invite you to think about protecting your culture so that you can become an employer of choice for those A players that you want on your team and the ones that you want to attract to your team. When you get your culture right, you'll find it's much easier to attract A players to work for you. You'll actually become that employer of choice. When it comes to hiring A players, your culture matters so much more than the pay that you are offering. Pay is important, and you absolutely do need to be working on your profitability and innovating in the business so that you are able to charge what you need to charge to be competitive and to be able to grow your business. But it is not all about pay. Your culture is what A players are going to be attracted to. So it's up to you to protect your culture. To do so, there's one threat that you need to be highly aware of in your business, and that is tolerating team members who are disengaged. And I know it's really tempting when it's so hard to hire. You want to hang on to who you have because you're just happy to have someone around doing a little bit of work to get some things done. But what's really going on is those disengaged team members are repelling your A players. So when you have disengaged team members, you might as well be spraying that A player repellent all over your business. And you want to have a very good eye for detecting disengagement very quickly and responding to it and coaching it. So in last week's episode, I did a deeper dive into the coach approach in your business. And I'll talk some more about that. But what you need to know is that you don't want to delay in coaching disengaged team members. You want to have those conversations as quickly as possible and see what's causing the disengagement and see if that can be course corrected. If it cannot be course corrected, you really need to let that team member go because they will undermine your culture in your business. And if you're like most business owners, especially those of us who are designing our businesses to be sustainably profitable, you're watching your business bottom line very closely. Payroll is typically one of your biggest expenses. And although payroll is an expense on our financial statements, the team members behind that payroll are assets. They are responsible for leading your company into the future. Whether they are productive or not determines the future of your business. The better and the more you invest in them, the better your future will be. So with that in mind, compare your mindset on team building with your mindset on investing in new equipment or a stock in your investment portfolio. So do you research equipment before you buy it? Do you choose a lower quality piece of equipment and then blame the equipment when it breaks down? Or do you learn from that experience and try to make a better choice and purchase better quality equipment next time? And what about the stock in your investment portfolio? Do you just pick any stock that shows up, or do you try to find quality ones that you believe will give you the best return, even if they cost more per share than other stocks? You need to be thinking about your team members in the same way. If you are trying to get away with paying the least amount possible, and if you are not investing in your team members and growing them and developing them after they're on your team, you're really just saying, I'm okay with having mediocre equipment that I'm not going to maintain. And when it breaks, I'm just going to toss it out and get another one. Payroll is your biggest expense. Treat it like an investment. Invest in your team. And that means your time and energy going into developing your team members, as well as being intentional to hire those A players on your team. So hiring team members is an investment, and it's up to us as the owners to make sure the investment is worth it. If we hire the right person, they're an investment that's worth it. If we hire the wrong person, they are an expense and they cost us time and money. The better you become at investing in the right team members and developing them, the more productive and engaged they will be, and the better your return on investment will be. But if you don't do this, your payroll is going to be the biggest source of a hidden profit bleed in your business, and that is employee disengagement. And that's what we're going to dive deep into today. For the typical business, the cost of employee disengagement can range from several $100,000 to millions of dollars annually. So just imagine what you could do with that money when you recapture it as profit. Right? It's painful to think about it, but if the revenue in your business is around $250,000 and you make your first hire and they're a significant role in the company, they have that potential to drain the company of hundreds of thousands of dollars. So you want to get this right. And so that's one reason I don't recommend that your first hire be a high level position. Really start with letting go and delegating those $10 and $50 an hour tasks, because you need to get the training wheels on to learn how to hire the best and build your hiring muscle to work up to those higher level positions. But even in a company with 5 employees or 3 employees, the mishiring and tolerating of employees who are disengaged can be costing you hundreds of thousands of dollars. And we tolerate marginal team members because we think we need to. We think it's part of surviving. But in actuality, this is the slow kiss of death for your business. Unhappy, disengaged team members spend only 40% of their time on task. So they may show up for work 5 days a week, but you're only getting 2 days of work out of them. And most of us have no idea how much disengaged employees are really costing us. Lost productivity costs the U.S. economy $588 billion a year. And a national study by Dale Carnegie Training places the number of fully engaged team members at just 29%, meaning that nearly 3/4 of our team members are not fully engaged. Most companies have as much as 85% of their human resources doing just enough to get by, and sometimes even less. The average team member is discontented, underutilized, and not actualizing their potential. And they are also less likely to be happy, healthy, satisfied, and fulfilled. And the costs from employee disengagement mount really quickly. And there's a lot of hidden costs that come into play with employee disengagement. So just as an example of the impact, consider what happens when you have a disengaged team member who installs a product incorrectly. There are costs for replacing damaged materials, plus extra labor hours spent correcting the problem. And then you likely have a frustrated client because the project is delayed. And if you're already short-handed, this delayed project spills over and causes delays with other projects. That results in other costs and places additional pressure on your team members who are likely your A players, and that is going to impact their morale. So that's why I say you cannot tolerate having disengaged employees on your team, because they will drive your A players crazy and drive your A players away. Now, when you have a system for attracting A players to your team and hiring the best, you're much less likely to tolerate employee disengagement. And so that's why I strongly encourage you, get the hire the best system in place for yourself in your business, because you're going to become more and more confident in your ability to attract A players to your business and your ability to hire A players. And that will make you much less likely to tolerate these disengaged employees. And by the way, we have another round of the How to Hire the Best course coming up. If you missed registration for the current course, you can register for October. Just head on over to tapthepotential.com/course and hold your spot in the October How to Hire the Best course. So I want to walk you through a tool that we use called the Engagement Matrix. And this allows you to take an inventory of your present human resources, i.e. your team members, so you can see who's engaged, who's not engaged, and where you're losing money. So there are 4 quadrants of engagement and effectiveness. There's the engaged and effective quadrant. There's the engaged and ineffective quadrant, the disengaged and effective, and the disengaged and ineffective. And I'm going to tell you, out of those 4 quadrants, you want all of your team members in the engaged and effective quadrant, but that is not likely to happen. So as I walk you through these quadrants, you'll start to see there are some quadrants where you can move people from that quadrant into engaged and effective. And then there's other quadrants where you need to let them go. So let's talk about the engaged and ineffective quadrant. New hires typically fall here. New team members are excited and engaged, but they're usually ineffective. When new team members come on board, they have a lot to learn before they can become effective. They're learning their way around the office, who reports to whom, and how your day-to-day operations flow. They're generally motivated and excited to do the best work they can for you, but they don't know how to do that yet. And they're also a great source of new ideas, and they can give you feedback to improve your current system. But they typically don't have the depth of understanding of your industry and your systems to determine the most relevant feedback or ideas for them to be sharing with you and for you to be implementing. So these team members are the ones that you want to navigate out of this quadrant very quickly. So you want to get them out of the new hire phase as quickly as possible. And you do that with effective onboarding. And you want to channel all that excitement and energy into the next quadrant, which is the engaged and effective quadrant. And this is where energy and innovation really come alive in your business. In the engaged and effective quadrant, this is where team members are excited. They've been around your company long enough to have a good working sense of the mechanics of the organization. And these team members show up with powerful ideas, and they have the energy to move them forward. They contribute with discretionary effort that none of us could ever afford to pay for. They surpass expectations, and they want to create and implement their ideas. These are the team members that you want to be coaching, and you want to be having one-to-ones with them. And what's crazy is we tend to put more effort and time into our disengaged team members, and we try to coach them and make them better. And we ignore our engaged team members because they've got this. We don't have to worry about them. And we need to do the exact opposite. We need to be very intentional about tapping the potential of our most engaged team members. This is where you want to put your energy and effort. This is where you get high productivity with minimal mistakes. And a lot of leadership training focuses on how to move team members into this quadrant and keep them there. And I want to make a comment about that because there are many in the employee training industry that make a lot of money in their businesses based on you wanting to engage your disengaged team members. And at Tap the Potential, we actually will not allow you to put disengaged team members in our programs. One of our most popular offerings is Leadership Boot Camp, and we have a clear statement at the bottom that says, only send your A players through this training. We do not want to train your disengaged team members. And the reason for that is we know that's not a good use of your money in your business. And we don't want to take advantage of that. We would much rather support you in learning how to hire A players, and you have your A players come through our programs because we can really help you tap their potential. Okay, so let's talk about this disengaged and effective quadrant, because this is one that causes a lot of consternation for us business owners. These team members often remain effective enough to get by, but their energy and their creativity are gone. And the danger of keeping them around is they start dragging others from the engaged and effective quadrant down with them because they affect the morale on the team. And I want to give you a word of caution here. Many of us have an unarticulated expectation that as we learn, grow, and evolve and try new things, our long-term team members are going to come along for the ride. And when we start making changes for the better in our business, we actually see turnover in long-term team members. So it's not uncommon when you start working with us at Tap the Potential and you start doing things better and more effectively, your longer-term team members who are kind of just used to status quo and doing enough to get by become very frustrated, and you're going to become frustrated with them because they are not along for the ride. They liked how things were. They're not up for the change that you're trying to implement. So again, that's why it's so important to build your confidence in your ability to hire the best and attract A players, because you will have some turnover on your team as you make things better. And that's actually very healthy and very good. And if you talk to any business owner that's been involved with Tap the Potential, they will tell you it's so much better to let team members go who are not ready to learn, grow, and evolve when you're learning and growing and evolving, because it just becomes a big energy drain in your business. Now, your team members who start out engaged but then become disengaged may be coachable, but you want to intervene with them very quickly. Many business owners procrastinate here because these are uncomfortable conversations, and you're hoping that this team member's lapses are temporary and somehow this team member is eventually going to re-engage, but they won't on their own. So you don't want to delay. You want to address issues as they arise. And this is time for a coaching conversation. And a simple way to start that conversation is to be curious about the change in the team member's performance. Share your observations. Stick to the facts. Refrain from making your own interpretations about the reasons for the change in this person's performance. Just listen to what your team member shares. And remember, employee disengagement feeds on itself. Negativity begets more negativity. Discouragement leads to more discouragement. This is not something you want to let fester with your team. So I want to make a comment here about how long you let this go on. So, because I get a lot of questions about whether or not to keep coaching a team member or to let them go. And so the rule of thumb to decide whether or not someone's going to be coachable, especially when it comes to coaching a team member who used to be highly engaged but has become disengaged for whatever reason, is to have that initial coaching conversation and then watch their attitude and watch their performance. Someone who is coachable and who's going to re-engage, you will see their performance improve and their attitude improve, and it'll be a steady upward trajectory with just a little bit of slide back. And the slide back is just like us human beings. We're not perfect. We're not going to be up and peppy all the time. We're going to have our bad days, but they should be able to continue an overall upward trajectory and improvement with check-in conversations from you, maybe on a weekly basis, just checking in and seeing how things are going based on the initial conversation that you had about their level of engagement. Now, someone who's not going to be coachable, when you have that initial coaching conversation, you will see an uptick in their performance, and it might be a huge spike. Like their attitude's going to be great the next week, and they're going to be doing, a tremendous production, and they're delivering results. And you'll see that for about 3 days. And then things start to slide off. And it's that slide off that you want to watch for. And if it takes another coaching conversation from you to get their performance to improve, that's not a good sign. So that kind of person is really they're dependent on you and you watching them. And that's where a lot of us are like, oh, I feel like I'm babysitting now. Because you are. They're only improving their performance because they know you're watching. And as soon as you get distracted and start focusing on a more engaged team member and coaching them, this disengaged team member's performance drops off again. So those are people that you don't want to keep on your team. They're not coachable. Another sign of someone who's not coachable is when you have a coaching conversation with this disengaged team member and they do a lot of blaming and finger pointing. And when you try to bring it back around to them and ask, well, what might your role in this be? They continue to resist that question, and they talk about everybody else and everything that you're doing wrong and everything that other people are doing wrong that's not allowing them to be successful. So you want them to be able to own responsibility and say, I didn't do my best here, or I didn't utilize this system, and I think that's where I'm falling down. Those are team members who have the opportunity to re-engage, and they are coachable. So if you feel like you really need some support in learning how to have these kinds of coaching conversations, when to have them, who to have them with, what should happen afterwards, and how do you maintain that accountability, I highly encourage you to join us in the upcoming Coach Approach course, because that's what we're focusing on. And if you're in a place where it's really important to you to have these highly engaged team members and build your culture, the Coach Approach course is just going to support you in getting that in place, not just with you having coaching skills, but you can also bring others on your team into the Coach Approach course with you so that the entire team learns how to have these coaching conversations. But again, you can only bring the A players on your team into the Coach Approach course. So be mindful of that. You can join us in the Coach Approach course at tapthepotential.com/coach-approach. So the final quadrant are your disengaged and ineffective team members. These are the team members who complain, they have low morale, they repeatedly make mistakes, and they might even sabotage your company efforts. And despite this, they're never doing enough to actually get fired. And so you're always kind of walking the fence with them. And what they're doing is they're draining the energy and sucking the life out of your other team members and the company as a whole. These team members are the ones who are costing you a bundle, and you need to let them go. So now that you know the 4 quadrants, you can list your team members and assign them to the different quadrants and look at the number of team members that you have in the engaged and effective quadrant and give yourself a gold star, because that's awesome. And you want to coach them. This is where you want to invest your time and energy in tapping their potential and keeping them engaged. And then look at the ones that you have in the ineffective and engaged quadrant. These are your new hires, your newer team members. They have that energy. And you want to have a solid training and onboarding plan with them so that you quickly move them into the engaged and effective quadrant. And then look at the team members who are in the disengaged but effective quadrant. Those are the ones that you need to quickly get in there and coach and see if you can turn things around. And if you can't, let them go. And then the disengaged and ineffective, you've got to let them go. And so that's where being good and being confident in your hiring is going to be so powerful. So I want to conclude today by sharing with you some data on what a happy team member, a happy, engaged team member is really worth to you. So there was an extensive research program with over 32,000 participants conducted in 2005 by the Eye Opener Institute for People and Performance. And they conclude that happiness at work drives employee engagement. So a happy team member is a high-performing team member. And team members who are happiest at work use 1/10 the sick leave of their least happy peers. They are 6 times more energized. They express the intent to stay twice as long on the job in comparison to their peers. They report being on task 80% of their work week compared to other unhappy peers who report being on task 40% or less during their work week. So it's well worth your time and energy to take the time to improve your coaching skills, learn how to hire the best, and have a solid strategy to really maximize the number of your team members that you have in that engaged and effective quadrant at any given time. So I want to conclude with 3 immediate actions that you can take. Number 1, systemize your onboarding and training to move your new hires, your engaged and ineffective team members, to be effective as quickly as possible. So if it currently takes you 6 months to bring a team member fully up to speed, what needs to happen to cut that time in half and then cut it in half again? That's an opportunity for you to innovate, and that will improve your profitability. Because remember, that time saved by becoming more efficient directly leads to profit. Action step number 2, set strong accountability expectations for each role in the business and let those disengaged, ineffective team members know about those accountability expectations and track their progress. They will likely look for work elsewhere very soon, because as soon as you create expectations and they know you're going to hold them accountable, they're going to get uncomfortable very quickly. And finally, attempt coaching with those disengaged yet effective team members, and keep in mind that not all of them are going to be coachable. If they're not coachable, support them in moving on. Because remember, when you let one disengaged team member go, it creates the opportunity for you to hire your next top performer. This is what we at Tap the Potential call hiring up. It's a good thing for you, and it's a good thing for your bottom line. Thank you for spending time with us today. Join our conversation in the Entrepreneurs Take Your Life Back Facebook community at tapthepotential.com/group. Share your aha moments from today's episode, ask me questions, and join in on the fun with your fellow entrepreneurs on the journey to designing sustainably profitable businesses that give you more time for what matters most and more money in your bank account than ever. And finally, share today's episode with a friend if you know a friend who would enjoy it. This is real life business. Keep your chin up, keep moving forward. You got this. If you've gotten value from today's show, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you are a repeat listener of the podcast, know that we greatly appreciate you at Tap the Potential. And to that end, I have a request. Please consider leaving us a review on whatever platform you're listening on. Our reviews help other entrepreneurs like you to find us. Be a part of our movement to help entrepreneurs take your life back from your business.